I've got to be the most on YouTube. What the just happened? That could have ended catastrophically. This engine has not run in 3.5 years, and today we're going to be firing it up for the very first time. I've no idea if it's going to run. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. There is a couple of things we've got to tidy up and fix up before we can turn the key. But before we get into all of that, I've got to tell you guys, and we're going to go and fix something that I completely f***ed up on this build. So let's get stuck into it. In today's video, we are re-repairing the roof and gutter of this GQ Patrol because I done an absolute shocking job and f***ed it up a few months ago. Today, some parts have rocked up from across the Dutch, and we're going to be using those parts to re-repair the roof of the GQ Patrol. So basically, if you've been following for a while, we would have seen we repaired some rust that was actually underneath in between the roof and gutter panel. We cut out this section of the gutter and roof. We fixed the rust underneath, and then we've used the same section and re-welded it back in, which didn't turn out the best. I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but it dips down here just from grinding the welds down. And yeah, it is just a shit job. Basically because I have no idea what I'm doing. Now the reason that I did this is because I couldn't find anyone in my local area that was able to fold me up a new piece of roof and a new piece of gutter to match the GQ roof exactly. They are very difficult to fold up, but I did find a guy in New Zealand from across the Dutch. Now he actually folds up and sells the roof and gutter panels for GQ Patrols. So I did order some. I've got them right here, they've just turned up. So yeah, we're going to be using these pieces to re-repair the shitty repair that I've done before. Now that's enough yarning. Let's get the grinder out and start cutting in to this shitty job that I've done previously. Alright, turns out that the roof and gutter panels that I bought were not even remotely close to matching up to the actual gutter and roof on the car, so I had to scrap those in the bin. And I did find someone on Marketplace scrapping the roof of a GQ, so I went over there and cut out the exact section that I needed. That was completely free of rust. Alright, drilled all my holes. Whoosh. There we go. Now, once again, as you can see on here, this gutter and roof sheet has no rust in it, but you can see where the rust is starting to occur. It's in between these two pieces of metal. So obviously these two pieces are spot welded together, and over time obviously stuff gets in there, or they just slowly rub against each other, rubs off the coating, rubs off the paint, and then begins to rust out. So we'll give that a little grind and we'll clean all that rust up off there. And then that piece is ready to be cut to size and welded on. Alright, we've marked it out. Looks like it's going to line up pretty good. Cut this section out here and pray that it fits. Alright, we've got our piece. It doesn't line up perfectly. There are a couple of gaps that we've got to fill, but shouldn't be too much of a drama. We've got the old SIG weld welder all ready to go. I had to go and get a new gas bottle because I've been using this welder for pulse MIG weld and aluminium, but we are welding mild steel, so I do have to swap the gas over. We'll have to set it up for mild steel. So we'll get this welder set up and we'll start tacking this thing into place and see if we can get it to line up. Let's go. Alright, so what happened was my camera went flat. But we've got it all welded in and grinded back. It's not 100% perfect. What I'm doing now is just sanding it up and grinding it up and roughening up all this paint so then we can go down and lay some bog. It's only going to be a thin layer of bog. It's not like we're bogging like a massive big hole in the car. So we've done the best we can with the metal. Obviously it's still a bit of touching up to do, but yeah, we'll use a thin layer of bog, sand it up and get this thing as smooth as we possibly can. So yeah, we'll grind it up a bit more, get rid of all the paint, and lay some bog on it. Let's go. Alright, so I've got it all sanded up. It is absolutely not perfect at all, but it's much better than my previous job. At least we got the bulk work of it done. So when I do take it to the paint shop, hopefully we can just touch it up and whatnot, so yeah. Alright, that's as far as we're gonna get with this today. So now, time to get this engine running. There's a couple of bits and pieces we've got to do. We've got to fill the engine oil up, we've got to change the filters. I've got to put a fuel filter on, a couple of fuel lines. There is a whole heap of wiring we've still got to get done, but we're not going to worry about it today. We're just going to get it fired up and see if it runs and make sure she's running smoothly. And then after that we can go ahead and do all the fine tuning, get all the wiring done and get it absolutely smicko and ready to drive down the road to go and get some paint put on it. Alright, I've got the oil draining. I'm just going to throw these new filters on. As I said earlier, this engine hasn't run in 3.5 years. The last time it was running was in my 1988 GQ coil cab ute. I was supposed to rebuild it sort of ground up to take on our travels around Australia. And then we ended up getting a good deal on the GU Patrol. So we ended up buying the GU Patrol, building that up and traveling Australia in that. So the GQ was completely stripped down and basically just abandoned, which is not ideal, but this engine I think has less than 300,000 kilometers on it. It was in smick condition when it was in the ute. Yeah, it runs like an absolute dream, so I cannot wait to get this thing going again. All right, then filters are on now. Let's throw some oil in it. If you are new to the channel, this car is actually a giveaway car, so I started this project honestly way too long ago. Should have been finished like a year ago, but I started this project in the idea that I'd be able to build a community where you guys could support by joining my Patreon or buying merch or buying anything off my website, and I would fund that money into building this project and then giving it to someone who helped fund it. So basically what happened was I ran out of money, I had to go back to working full time, and then I never got time to work on this thing. So now that I'm back working full time, I do have some more money to fund this build. If you do want to support and have a chance to win this car, I'll put a QR code on the screen here. That'll take you over to the website. You can buy anything for as little as $10. You can buy digital wallpaper, and yeah, that'll get you in the draw to win this. It'll also support me out and help me be able to get this car on the road quicker and get it to one of you guys quicker. So yeah, scan the QR code or click the link in the description if you do want to support the build. And yeah, if you want to see this car go to someone very soon. Hopefully this does not spill everywhere. Oh no. Also got no battery, so I'm gonna have to probably grab the battery out of the bloody GU at this point. Throw the battery out of the GU. I don't know, there's gonna be no fuel in the tank. I might have to get a jerry can and just run a hose down and run this thing out of the jerry can to get it started. We're also going to have to prime the oil feeds for the turbo, which I'll show you how we're gonna do that in a minute, once I get this filled up. All right, we're throwing a battery in. This is gonna be the first time this car's had a battery in it in years. I don't know how long this GQ's been off the road for. I think this thing's been off the road for like 10 years. Engine hasn't been in 3.5. All right, we've hooked the batteries up. Nothing has caught fire yet. Let's go and see if we've got power inside. Oh, look at this green light. No way. I don't know whether to turn the key on. Let's just do it. Shit. Oh, look at this. We've got power. Alright, we cannot start it yet though. Mate, there's a lot of relays and stuff clicking, but that is the first time this car's had power in years, probably like 10 years I think. I don't even know how long this GQ body's been off the road. I know the engine hasn't ran in 3.5 years, but mate, we are so close to starting this thing. But we do have a brand spanking new turbo, which means none of these oil lines are primed. And if you just were to start this car up without these oil lines being primed, this turbo would start spinning with no oil in it, and it would just fuck the turbo. These turbos need oil to center the bearings and center the turbines, and obviously lubricate the bearings. So if you were to run this without priming these oil lines first, the turbo would probably shit itself. So what we're going to do is disconnect the drain off the bottom of this. We'll run it down into a tub, and then we'll crank the engine over. We'll leave the fuel stop solenoid disconnected so that the car cannot start, and we will crank the engine over until oil starts pouring out the bottom of that hose there, which is the return line for the oil feed. So this is our feed here. This is the return. So yeah, once we've got oil pissing out that return, we know that there's oil pumping through this. All right, this is the situation. We've got everything hooked up. I've got this fuel hose running down. I'm gonna put it in that jerry can full of diesel. I'm not gonna put it in there yet because we still, like I said, need to prime these oil feeds. I've disconnected the hose off the bottom there. I think it's time we crank it. I'm so nervous for this. I'm freaking out. Hopefully nothing goes bang. But it won't start now. We're just gonna crank it and see if it turns over. All right, here we go. She cranks. Let's go. All right, it cranks. Now the question is it getting oil pressure? Oh, that is the first time this engine's cranked over in 3.5 years. Thank God it turns over. Nothing went bang. You hear that? You can hear the oil coming up through into the head. Look at this. Oil is now draining out of our turbo. So we know we're getting oil pressure. We'll crank it a little bit more, make sure we're getting good, nice flow. I'm gonna be ready to start it, so let's go. All right, those oil lines are all bled up. She's ready to start. I'm just throwing the glow plugs back in at the minute. I just want to let you know, if you didn't see my last video, my fuel stop solenoid crapped itself on my GU Patrol. So I actually pulled the solenoid out of this engine to put in that engine just to get it going so I could drive to work. Turns out it didn't even fit. And in the process of doing this, I lost the little spring and piston. It fell out and fell down my drain, I'm pretty sure. So I lost it. So I did throw it back into this engine without the piston and spring, which meant once we started this engine, I wouldn't be able to shut it off. I would have to suffocate the engine just by blocking the intake pipe, which is pretty simple because I have easy access to it. So I wasn't too worried about it. I didn't think it would be a problem, and I'm still not sure if it was a problem, but you're about to see what happens anyway. She started to run. Oh, she did start to run. Oh, shit. Alright, let's give it one more shot. Bit of start, you bastard, never hurt anyone. Keep running! Let's go, baby! Holy shit, at this point here, I am freaking out. I've got something flat to cover the intake. I've disconnected the fuel. I have no idea why it's still running. The reason I'm freaking out so much is because there's no coolant in the radiator. So once this thing warms up to temperature, which does take quite a while, but after that, it will start overheating and cook the engine if I cannot get it to stop. I did weld this intake up myself. So I started freaking out. Maybe there's holes in my welds or somehow the air's getting through into this intake. Some of you are probably wondering why I don't just jump in the cab and stall it. I do not have the drive shaft connected, so there's no possible way of stalling it. The only way I can stop this engine from running is to stop the air going in, because it seems to be running on something other than fuel. I've disconnected the fuel. It must be running on oil in the cylinders or just fumes at this point, because there is no load on the engine, so it wouldn't take much for it to keep running on its own fumes or its own oil, or I don't even know. Let me know in the comments if you do know. At this point here, I start using my brain and looking for ports or holes in the intake anywhere that could be for boost gauges or something like that. I did manage to find a hole. I stuck my thumb over it and the engine kept running. If we cannot get this thing to stop, it will overheat and possibly blow up, which is going to set us back $10,000 to get it rebuilt, which we cannot afford. There's 3 holes in there. Well, I'm thinking, how the f*** is getting air in there? There's 3 holes. Well, there's only 2 holes. I can only see 2. Oh, that could have been ended bad. I've got to be the most cunt on YouTube. What the f*** just happened? That could have ended catastrophically. I was not going to post this because it was quite embarrassing, but here we are. I've posted it, so give me your absolute best roast in the comments. Do not hold back. Let me know how dumb I am. And also, if you know why the engine kept running without any fuel, let me know also. Blocking the air off. I see this other hole and I'm trying to fucking block both the holes. I didn't realise there's another hole that I couldn't see. I was like, why is this not fucking stopping? Oh my god. I think I'm high for fumes.
What?
Alright. Good news is it runs. Other good news is we managed to stop it. That was Alright, that's going to do it for today's video. In the next video, hopefully I'm a bit smarter and we can get this thing out on the road and get it running and tidy everything up and make it schmicko. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one, eh? Oh, and just quickly, if you want to help out, please scan the QR code on screen. Go and buy something from my website, subscribe to my Patreon. Link will be in the description. So I can finally get this thing done and get it to one of you guys. Thanks heaps for watching.
Never
see you in the next one.
I don't know a limit, chasing a dream. I don't know what sleepers. I got a queen, she lit me to eat it. She ripe like a peach and she snapped me to snippet. You well overdue for that link up in person. Text me to fall through a murder, she wrote it. Still live with courage, you're doing a service.